All right, welcome back, folks. Live at Drew's house, another edition. Happy Christmas week, Merry Christmas week in a 2020 that is winding down and has been like no other. We'll talk more about that later and later on in the week as we get closer to the day itself. But today I'm going to bring in the superintendent of the Newburyport schools, Sean Gallagher. He's been a regular guest on the show for a couple of years now. And Sean, first of all, how are you? Good to see you again.
Yeah, we're doing great. Thank you. It's great to be on.
Excellent. The congratulations in order. I saw the little bit of a contract extension there a few weeks back. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm off the free agent waivers now, so I'm really I'm just really excited. It's such a great community, and I just think we've accomplished a lot in a short time, and I think we looking forward to accomplishing a lot more in the next few years. So I'm psyched to be here, and I'm it. So we're ready to go.
There you go. Talk about quite the. I mean, I don't. Maybe this is one of those free agent years that everybody said anybody who's a superintendent doing well in 2020, they get re-upped. And talk about this year and the struggles and the challenges.
Yeah, it's been. I'll tell you, since March. I remember the date very well. March 12th was a Thursday before we decided on March 13th to close down in preparation of remote learning, which we thought at the time was going to be for a week or two. And then we're always thinking we were going to be coming back to school. So I just think from March to now, it's been, challenging. The dynamics, it's just constant change, I think, for all of us. And I think what's challenging for educators is we're really about planners. You do your lesson plans, you do your assessment planning, you do your year planning. So just our natural instinct is to constantly plan, and then you work out the dynamics and the challenges. But I think under this environment, it's so fluid. That a lot of planning long-term planning is just you're really operating day to day and week to week. So I can't thank our faculty and support staff and administration enough for all of their efforts, throughout the year. And I really believe coming into this school year, our faculty really prepared over the summer. We had 265 faculty members work on their technology skills and technology through professional development. We had 187 teachers working on hybrid learning plans, and then another around 90 teachers working on skills-based instruction. So they were doing that all summer in preparation for this school year and really not knowing what to expect. So I really believe a lot of their preparation has paid off. And for us, as we opened up with the hybrid learning model, it's been pretty effective under these challenging circumstances. So I can't thank the faculty in the community enough for their, not only their support, but their flexibility. Obviously, this is not ideal for anybody in education at this time, and we're kind of doing the best that we can under these circumstances. So.
Put me in your shoes, like on a daily basis to start the day. Like, do you start the day with the here are the latest COVID numbers in Newburyport, or here are the latest COVID numbers within the school system? How has that been? What is that process like?
Well, I'll tell you, it's and that's also changing, Drew, because in the beginning of the school year, when we had our first or second case, we were really notifying everybody. Actually, we're notifying everybody all the time. But it's changed. So I was doing a personal call. We were sending out an email to the whole community because the cases were so few. But what we've seen in the last few weeks is the cases are becoming very common. And so our ability now to contact trace, to kind of pinpoint, where the case had, come from, and then all of the different people we need to quarantine, it's becoming more challenging because I think with the rise in the community and the rise in the state, it's so prevalent in the community that as you start to go backwards in contact trace, there were multiple exposures for many, many people now. So I think that's been one challenge. So what we've been doing is updating per week, kind of with a chart of the different cases of students, possible faculty members, and then all the quarantine numbers. So we're starting to see, I think, after that Thanksgiving Day bump, what they were talking about, a big increase. So
Kids and students?
kids and students.
I mean,
correct.
kids and teachers, I should say.
Correct. Yep. So we're seeing, that's what we're seeing, and it's really not being the silver lining for us at this point. Is all of our safety protocols, wearing masks, 6-foot distancing, the constant hand washing. We have not seen a transmission in school. So people have been coming to school either asymptomatic and not knowing, or got a test and developed symptoms while at home, but then you got to trace back 2 days. So we've had COVID cases in the schools, but we have not seen a transmission in the schools. So a lot of the spread at this time is household members bringing it to a household, and then it spreads, throughout the household. So
that's important for the holidays, right? Because I'm sure part of the teaching message has to be to these kids to be smart, right?
Right, and just really, I think the challenge is we see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're seeing vaccines, and you're starting to see our emergency workers getting vaccinated. Then the phase 2 piece is for educators as part of the plan. So that could be the end of February, early March. So people hear vaccine and they're not as cautious. So we're trying to reiterate to everybody, yes, it's not we're not clear yet. We have another 2 months here, and we still want to reduce the spread, and just really working with families and providing them as much information as we can to make good decisions. Because we definitely want to try to keep our schools as open as long as we can, and especially up until people start to get vaccinated. So it has been, I'll tell you, it has been extremely challenging. But I'll tell you, Drew, I think our community, our school community at large, everyone's really have come together. And as I said, it's not ideal. And I think a lot of us are making sacrifices. But I think when in doubt, I think we've been operating on the side of safety for everybody. And I think people can appreciate that.
Give us you said you obviously saw that Thanksgiving bump. Do you have an idea, even if it's percentage wise, how much COVID is within the school walls right now, or guesstimate?
So the other piece, part of our protocols, is when people have been sick or not feeling well. So we have a daily checklist, and we've been really, communicating to families to stay home. So even though we've had, as I said, cases where families are testing positive, at this point, a lot of those tests have been outside the school system. So although it could be member families of students or member families of faculty, it's not, I think people have been great at following the protocols. We don't see a lot of the cases coming into the schools, but there are some cases that do come in. So we're working with our medical team, and they're predicting with the Thanksgiving Day bump, there's some estimates that this holiday bump now with the winter vacation could triple what we saw over Thanksgiving. So I think these are the weekly updates that we work together to start to strategize. Okay, so if this happens, what do we do next? And so we're working on that. The other piece that we're working on is, coming into the new year is surveillance testing and pool testing. So we're working and investigating that and working with different companies to see, how do we, the next 2 months before a vaccination, if the cases are rising all around us, how do we, kind of safeguard our staff? And one of what colleges are doing is they're doing that surveillance testing where they take a pool of teachers and staff per week, and then they get tested, and then you can start monitoring, I guess the COVID virus among the faculty and support staff. So that's something we're looking at. If we have the safety protocols that we have in place, along with a lot of the structures we have in place, plus surveillance testing for the new year, that might just give us enough coverage before the vaccine. So those are the things we're talking about now.
It's almost like you're trying to create, and it's impossible to do, but you're trying the best you can to create your own little bubble.
Exactly. It is impossible when you have 2,300 families and about 500 employees. But so we figured if we could focus on the employees, that way we can, maintain the facilities and maintain the staffing to continue with the education. The other piece that we're learning is there is going to be home kits available, I think, within the month. So you'll be able to, families would be able to purchase those, all of us, for about $30 and do a self-testing kit. So there are things that are coming down the line that give us hope, and we can kind of see like that light at the end of the tunnel, but it's not a sprint to that light. We got to slowly walk there, especially I would say within the next 4 to 6 weeks.
So you have I think a lot of people who maybe don't have kids or are kind of a little bit removed from the school systems always wonder when they hear those numbers, well, how do they actually know? And from your perspective, that just kind of jumped out to me. So what counts as a COVID case against you may be a family phoning in saying, Ricky won't be there today, he tested positive. So that's a COVID case that a student won't be at school, but that is a COVID case for Newburyport.
Correct. So the Board of Health, all of the testing and all of the positives go through the Board of Health first for every community, so for every city. So the Board of Health, along with our nursing staff, have been working together. So when we receive a name, if it's a staff member or receive a name of a student, then what we'll do is we'll go back and see, was the student in school? What days were they in school? All of our protocols in every classroom, in the cafeteria, everywhere within the school, we have seating charts and we know where every student was throughout the day. So when we go back to contact trace, then we can see who's a true close contact and who isn't. So there is a lot of work from one case that you have to backtrack, and go through the whole scenario, not only in school, but also outside of school, different activities or different places or programs that students and or staff went to or were at.
High school Drew, I'm thinking back, I was bouncing all around. I was energy guy, that can't, you need a full-time person to monitor that.
Yeah, if we had you in school, we'd have to put you in lockdown. So during this time.
Sociable. Again, Sean Gallagher joining us, Superintendent of Newburyport, the schools in Newburyport, and in a year unlike any other. I'm sure you'll be happy. Obviously, the vaccine news has us all excited. Has there been any talk, though, even with when the vaccine starts to get to the general public? I don't think at the snap of a finger, life is going to return to normal. What is the classroom, maybe even let's look ahead to next year. I mean, what is going to stick as a change for next year?
Well, I think right now, what we're seeing is the 6-foot distancing in the classes, which obviously has led us to the hybrid model. Some districts have tried to utilize a 3-foot spacing, but it still does not accommodate, all kids back in person. So I would imagine, and I have, we haven't seen any recommendations once people are vaccinated, but I could imagine masks still being worn. I could see if the majority of the school population has been vaccinated, you'd be able to reduce some of those CDC or state restrictions on social distancing. So all of those pieces, I think, might be eased a little bit. But I'll tell you, I'm not sure about the mask wearing. You might have mask wearing still in schools, even if there is a vaccine, just to make sure we're caught up. Because I'll tell you, Drew, that's to me, being on the ground level here, the wearing masks has been such a key component of reducing the spread. I mean, we've had, as I said, we have had cases in the schools, but all of the close contacts that were surrounded by that individual, because everyone was wearing their masks, we have not had the in-school transmission yet. So the whole theory of masks don't work or they do work, I'll be 100% and tell you that the mask wearing definitely works, even if you're in the presence of someone with COVID. So
you've actually had cases, and you've probably looked at the contact tracing and said, uh-oh, these people are in trouble. And then you're pleasantly surprised to see, wow, okay, they are not testing positive.
Correct. So we've had multiple, obviously multiple people quarantined that have been seen as close contacts, but in schools, since people wearing their masks, and that goes all the way down to the preschool, the little preschool students are wearing their masks. They're about 2 inches big. It's so cute. But everyone's been, while in school, the kids have been tremendous and just following the structures in place. And that's been, for us, very, very important. We, as you said, if we're quarantining, say 11 students that may have been in close contact and possible exposure, we have not seen any of those close contacts has been transmitted. So,
well, give it up for the kids, huh? It doesn't. Yeah. This whole thing really. I mean, you gave teachers a lot of credit, which they certainly deserve. But people forget this whole thing doesn't work if the kids don't decide we got to do the right thing to stay in class.
Yeah, the kids have been great. Just really, since we started with the hybrid model in September, it's almost like second nature now. So even if we had to continue to wear masks going into next school year, I think our students themselves, the ones that have been in the hybrid model, are just so used to wearing masks and in the social distancing. So they've been great. Like you said, their ability to adapt and be flexible has also been tremendous.
Absolutely. I think back to the, we just passed on Thanksgiving. I had a bunch of your football guys on from past and present Newburyport football. Might I say, very well represented the Newburyport community and the Newburyport school system. They were fantastically and well-spoken and just a great group of guys. But I think about them often because they kind of represent a group of athletes who they weren't allowed to play. That's one of the sports that was not allowed to go. And athletes in general, just having a lot stripped away from them. What are we looking at for winter sports, and how is this all going to play out? Because as we said, there's surges all around the country, including here, and I wonder what's changing on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think so. We did have some fall sports. The new rules were challenging, I think, for like soccer and field hockey, and but the student athletes did get to participate in the fall sports, which are outside. The winter sports are also being played, but with a lot of the safety modifications. Students have to wear masks the whole time. You're not going to, able to use the locker rooms. Students come into the building, they play, and then they leave the building immediately. So there's no like congregating. There's no fans. Part of the fan base is not allowed to participate. The season's been shorter. We have 10 games. So the winter sports season is going to begin in January. If fall, like you said, if the MIAA and the health officials say it's okay to participate. So they have a 10-game season. There's no playoffs or state championships or any of that type of stuff. So it's definitely been modified to fit into the safety guidelines. And as we said, it's not a great scenario, but at least the students are out there. They're playing and doing something that they love to do. For the sports that were postponed, there's a fall season 2, they're calling it, which starts at the end of February. And that's where for volleyball and football, they're going to try to get a short season in between the spring season. So there's still a lot of moving parts.
You must be a little worried about that, though, with this. I mean, the reason why that was pushed back was because of COVID cases were not going in the right direction, and we're not going in the right direction still. So
correct. Yeah, I think it's, Drew, it's something that, we're I guess we're used to in this, like on a daily basis, analyzing the metrics and working with our health professionals. And even when there's an obstacle, I think especially for us in Newburyport, even when we do have an obstacle, I think we have enough people where we try to bring people together and then come up to a solution that we could live with, and also try to give the students some sort of normalcy in their schooling. So, as I said, we're hoping, the vaccine comes, as they said, for the educators, and we start seeing the positive turnaround there. But, right now it has been challenging. As you said, you might be preparing for a game in January, and then all of a sudden a week or 2 days before, because the cases are high and people are concerned for health and safety, they cancel games. So.
Pandemic fatigue is a term that we're hearing all across the country these days. And I wonder, just on a personal level, how annoyed and how sick of talking about COVID protocol are you? I can imagine you didn't sign up for this a few years back when you jumped into this position. And I know it's the nature of the job. These things, well, not a virus like this usually pops up, but things do pop up. But I mean, I can't imagine being in your seat over these last 10 months. This is what a difficult gig.
Yeah, as I said, it's definitely been challenging, but I think we have a lot of support and a lot of people, understanding the situation. I always make a joke, a year ago, I thought, I used to complain about some things, but I'll never complain again. compared to this year. I think when you can operate a school system in a pandemic, I think it is an accomplishment. But I think for Newburyport, Drew, what I learned quick, especially this community, when there's problems, or if it's, it's funding or programs or kids need support, if it's our, students, with insecurity with food. I mean, this community just rallies and supports. And so when we're looking at a pandemic and come up with the solutions that we feel is best, as I said, I think for the most part, people understand we're doing the best that we can. And then we're putting student and staff safety first. And even if people disagree with some of the decisions, at least they know we're thinking about safety of kids and staff. So they've been really supportive and assisting us. So obviously I'm not in this alone. I have a lot of great support. And, like we said, that light's down the end of that tunnel. We're going to get there. It's just going to take just a little bit more time, and people just need to be a little bit more patient.
All right. So very diplomatic answer there, but I did hear, yes, I'm very sick of it. Yes, that's what I also heard is, yes, I'm sick of this. Just kidding, of course. Again, Sean Gallagher joining us, Newburyport School Superintendent. You mentioned teachers and, throw coaches into that, and kids all kind of having to be on the same page to get through this all. Is part of the curriculum here as you went into the holidays, was part of it those last send-off messages for the kids that are, choosing to be in the classroom? Part of those messages, listen, hopefully your whole family's on board, even if they're not, and somebody is being too casual with the rules. Is part of that messaging, you need to be smart for the safety of that student next to you?
Yeah, I think from day one, even throughout every break and every holiday, we just remind our families and students, like, as you said, we're watching out for one another, and people are happy that, we're in school, but it takes a village to continue this. And you can't have people believe like, oh, well, there's a vaccine out there, we're good to go. we don't have to do this anymore. And I think that that's our messaging. And then we also provide, I think, families with a lot of resources, so they're up to date on different travel advisories, the COVID numbers. But yeah, and it's, it's individual families making those individual decisions for themselves too. So it's hard. I think it's hard for all of us. I mean, I think our holidays are going to look a lot different than we've ever seen, even for me as a personal, on a personal note, we're taking our precautions. And, we used to have this big family and friends, Christmas Eve gathering, and we're not doing that this year. You connect other ways, through Zoom, which is not great, but it's something. And hopefully this will be, this year will be the last holidays that we'll have to do this type of stuff. But
my wife is so sick of me, man. She needs to see the family. This is hardest on her. We're getting way too much time together. The dogs love it, but again, Sean Gallagher joining us. Final few minutes here. I would, I guess, when you think about all the pieces that need to go together to do all this, and I bet you cringe a little bit, because much smaller communities than Newburyport have had a much bigger struggle. Small towns have had to completely shut down because there was a house party here, or whatever, an outbreak from this. You must see those other communities around the state. You don't have to go outside of Massachusetts. There's plenty of communities that have ran into this and shut it all down for at least a period of time. Do you watch those other communities as superintendent and just kind of cringe and go, "Ooh, it could happen so easily"? I mean, yeah. It's such a hard spot.
It is. I mean, and I think, and when I think we take those up, use those stories as learning opportunities, and we once again remind people we'll utilize some of that in our messaging about house parties and things of that nature. The other piece that we really focused on too is the way we set up our schedule and how we cohorted kids and separated. We have Wednesdays are remote, so we could separate two cohorts. So when we do have a case or potential exposure, it's been isolated to one cohort or the other. And with that Wednesday off, where we don't have everyone together, that's really also been a saving grace, where we've really isolated cases. We've been able to keep school going, but at the same time maintain safety for everybody. But those scenarios where people are having those large gatherings, and that, I guess, that could happen at any point with us. So we just hopefully remind people to try to do the right thing and not get caught up in those situations, because as you said, Drew, you could have 20, 30, or 50 people at a gathering that has an impact on 800 kids in a school system for a couple of weeks. So
yeah, what has it all taught you, I wonder, about leadership? Because obviously you've been leading this community for many years, and you have a background of other leadership positions. But I can imagine you mentioned the word pushback just briefly a little while ago, and I don't have to look. I just saw Governor Baker on the TV earlier, and I've also seen protests in front of his house of people who just don't see this the same way that he does. And I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. This has become a political thing in many ways, and whether it's fighting for businesses that are shut down or whatever it may be, there are people who don't see this virus the same way. And I'm sure Newburyport is not immune to that. I'm sure you got a few emails or a few phone calls about kids should be back full in school, that sort of thing. What has that been like?
Well, I think that's also, I mean, you have to respect, I think, all people's, in my position, everyone's view, right? You can't.
Everyone's view?
You got to respect everyone's view. You don't have to agree with everyone's view, but you do have to respect it. And sometimes, within different views, there is some information that you can follow up on. I think from the beginning, Drew, as we talk about our medical advisory team, so we have, I would say, since the summertime, assembled a team where we have parents that have children in the system, but we also have an epidemiologist that's working out of Harvard. We have Mike Gallagher that does the MGH. He built the field hospital in Boston.
Guest on this show.
Yeah, we have some
Yeah.
real, I think, people that are on the ground that are living COVID. Their life has been this virus, especially our epidemiologists. So when we see data points or we see talking points, or if someone reads the Boston Globe and sees a chart and tells us the chart says X, Y, Z, our medical advisory team, I think, brings so much expertise to the table that in utilizing their their information to make decisions has been very helpful. And the other piece that I love about it, Drew, is they're parents of 3 to 4 children in the system. So they're not going to, make a decision that's going to, they feel is unsafe for their own children. So they have, as they say, like skin in the game when they come to the table and give us the medical advice. So that's been very helpful. And I totally understand where people are coming from in the sense of different viewpoints on everyone back, not everyone back, you should be remote. And I think that's, that's really important. But I think for everyone to understand, we would love to have everyone. Bringing everyone back is easy for educators. We're ready for that plan. That plan's easy because we've been doing it forever. But I think for us, as we're making these decisions, it's really you're choosing between, it's not like a great decision and a bad decision. It's like bad and bad or bad to worse, and just trying to do what the best that we can under these circumstances. And we really strengthened our technology at home and the remote learning. So that's also been, I think, a feather in our cap too. So when we do go remote, it's not like it was in the spring.
I hope you're getting some love too, because if one thing we've learned through all this, especially with the younger kids, if they're not back in school, mom and dad aren't being able to do their jobs either. The ones that are still lucky enough to be going out and working their jobs. It is amazing how so much of the economy in this country relies on teachers and relies on schools. Hopefully you're getting the love for being able to try to make the in-person classroom thing work still.
Yes. Well, I think for the most part, I think people are very happy. So
very good. My last question for you is, I wonder, what is the tool that has been put into the schools? Maybe it is as simple as this for remote learning, but what is the tool that is really going to last, that everybody has kind of looked at each other and said, why weren't we using that all along?
Well, I think I think Zoom and I think the video conferencing is something that we can.
Did you guys take a snow day in Newburyport?
We didn't. We actually utilized our remote learning. So I think our students were more mad at me about that than than anyone else, because they, the old traditional snow day. But what I'm looking at is, I think it's June 14th. When it's 98 degrees and all the Newburyport kids have an early summer while the rest of the kids are having a continuous schooling. So, but no, we utilized our technology on that day and it worked out very well. I think the use of technology in the classroom is probably another silver lining that we're going to see a lot of. Even when we're back in full in person, I think the creativity and the project-based learning that's happening out there because of the use of technology is just really going to enhance our curriculum. But I think it's been at a fast pace because everyone has been thrown into the use of technology, and it's not something that people, we'll do that in 5 years from now. We're doing it right now. So I would see that as still a big part of our curriculum heading into the future.
I'm so removed from it. Being 15 years out of high school, pushing 20. I'm so removed from it, and no kids. What does that mean? Or do we have laptops on the desks? What's going on in there?
Yeah, so our students have been utilizing Chromebooks in school and at home. So when we're in a hybrid model, in general, the students that are at home are logging in, and the students are in the class. So you have the classes coming together, although kids are at home. At the high school, they're live streaming all of their classes. So you're following your regular high school schedule, You're getting up, so if you're in class, you're there, at 8:15, and if you're home, you're logging in at 8:15. So that's been, I think, really beneficial under these circumstances.
Wow, that's crazy. It's crazy to think about just having that technology in front of you.
Right.
We used to get yelled at if we pulled out anything that even looked like a phone or anything. Again, Sean Gallagher, nice enough to join us, Superintendent Newburyport. This has been fantastic. I do want to do a quick little Christmas rapid fire with you, end the show on a light note.
All right.
A couple Christmas questions. You ready?
I'm ready.
And great job, by the way. We're very proud of Newburyport and how the school system has gone and continuing to truck on. So nice little uplifting way to end. Favorite Christmas meal?
Favorite Christmas meal? Wow. I'm going to say lasagna.
Lasagna.
Yeah, my aunt brings over this unbelievable lasagna.
Not this year.
Not this year. It'll be virtual.
A virtual. Can you get a delivery from your aunt?
I might. I have to go to her house and leave it on her porch.
Favorite Christmas movie?
I think it's Christmas Vacation.
Classic.
That came out a little bit when I was, I think more in the 80s when I was more of a teenager, but that's still hysterical.
Favorite Christmas song?
I would just go with the old Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer,
Okay. You're a throwback. I like it. And well, it looks like we're going to have a white Christmas this year, judging by all that snow that was just dumped on us. So I wish a Merry Christmas to you and yours, Sean Gallagher. Thank you for all the tireless work you've done to keep the Newburyport school systems going in this hybrid, crazy environment that is 2020. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Drew. You take care.
Happy holidays. Until next time.
You too.
All right, Sean Gallagher there, Superintendent, Newburyport Schools. Good man, good of him to join us. As you may imagine, he's busy in 2020 running a school system, but always a pleasure to have him on. Very informative. I always learn a few things about what's going on in the schools. Again, I'm 34, no kids. I'm kind of like removed from the high school thing and no kids in the school system. So it's like I don't really know exactly what's going on in the classroom except, hear it from nieces, nephews, and Sean, really. Winter hats here. That means it's almost Christmas time. Crazy 2020. We have this show, and let's see. Well, we'll have the next show will be our last one before Christmas, so that'll be our little holiday gathering of the work crew. That's what it's gonna end up being. We're gonna have some of the people that have put this show on, made it work, done all the hard work during the pandemic here. I know Tyler Neufield's going to join us, and the boss, Sarah Hayden's going to come on. So the people behind the scenes that make this all happen, and that I owe a great deal of debt of gratitude to. So Tyler and Sarah will be on our next show. Big thank you there, Sean Gallagher, Newburyport Schools. Merry Christmas week, everybody. Crazy, right? Somebody's getting flowers behind me. Interesting. We'll see where those are going. My wife bought them. But Merry Christmas week, everybody. Stay safe out there. Drew Moholland, live at Drew's house. Bye-bye now.